Hey YouTube, in this video, we're going to take a look at vectors in C++. Now, a vector is something that can be dynamically resized in C++, sort of like it's like an array, except an array can't be resized. A vector is allocated on the heap memory versus the stack. You don't really need to worry about that stuff right now. So let's just get into creating a file with a vector. So I'm going to first start with my file, including the input-output stream. And then I've also got to include the vector. And if you notice from the previous video, my theme's a little different. I just switched it up to Dracula because, it felt like switching it up. All right, so anyway, so we're going to be using the namespace std. Now again, I've said this in many videos. In actual production, you want to just use the things you're using from that namespace. But in the interest of time and for this video, we're just going to include the whole thing. All right, so you can make a function prototype that returns a vector. So I would type vector, and then I would do a less than, and I'm going to do integers and a greater than, and then I'm going to do the name of the function. So let's call it list numbers. And this function isn't going to take in anything. And then, of course, I can create the instructions for the function as well. So again, I would type vector, then the less than, int, greater than, and then the name of the function. Okay, and then I would have what it does, and let's say it's going to return some vector. Let's call that list. Okay, so we're going to have to create a vector up here. It's going to be we're going to want it to be an integer, a vector of integers, and it's going to be called list. Okay, and then we can have a for loop. So I can say for int I, and we'll initialize I at 0. And let's say I is less than 5, and we increment I. So while we are doing that, what I can do with this list vector is I can add an element as we go through the list. And the way I do that is I type list, the name of the vector, period, and then push, and then underscore back, and then what I want to push into the vector. So in this case, I'm pushing an I as we go through this loop. Okay, and so that vector is going to return that function is going to return that vector, and then what I want to do is I want to have my main function. So I'm going to say int main, and that's going to return 0. Okay, and what we're going to have is some kind of vector that I can put this function into. So let's create another vector. We'll call that, we'll do the same thing, vector with the less than, int, greater than. And let's call this numbers list. Okay, so we've declared that vector. And I'm going to say numbers list equals, then I'm going to say the function, so list numbers, and we didn't pass anything into that. Okay, and then to print out a vector, we can use a method of using a for loop. So I would say, and that's going to print out the elements down the screen. So let's create another integer for this for loop. We'll call it x, and we'll initialize it at 0. Okay, and then we're going to say x is less than numbers list, and we can, to figure out the size of the vector, we can type the name of the vector, numbers, in this case numbers list, a period, and then size, and two opening and closing parentheses, and then we'll increment this loop, so we'll have x plus plus, and then we're going to print. So we're going to say cout, and to print an individual member of the vector, I'm going to type numbers underscore list, and then at, and then we want at the indice that we're printing at, so I'm going to say at x, and then I'm going to end the line there, and then I'm going to close that out, And let's save this file. It looks like our function is good. And now let's compile it. So to do that, I'm going to type G++. Nope, sorry, I've got to, let me quit out of that. Okay, now I'm running a shell command. I'm going to type G++, and then the name of this file is vectors.c++. So we're going to run through that, and when you get the shell command succeeded with no output, that's good. If you have an output, that means there's an error. So, all right, so we're going to go to the directory where that is that file is, and to run it, we're going to just type /a.out, and you'll see it prints out the numbers. It starts out with I was initialized at 0, and it was less than 5, so I went 0, 1, 2, 3, and 4. So that's a little bit about vectors in C++. Just keep in mind, vectors are mutable. You can dynamically resize them on the heap. And if you like this video, please like and subscribe, and hit the bell for notifications, as it really helps the channel grow. And thank you for watching, and have a great day.